Hey honeys, listen up because today I'm going to be giving you my tips and tricks to learning languages. My name is Rainey and I am the content editor for Honey Magazine. I love learning languages. My second major is a language major with Spanish, and I am also an avid K-pop listener, so I've been teaching myself Korean, and I'm also enrolled in a Portuguese class, which has been very interesting. So first, let's think about it. Why should you learn a new language? The first reason is because it gives you a new perspective. Whenever you learn a new language, you basically are opened up to an entire new culture and just new experiences with that language that you wouldn't have had beforehand. And I think that it makes you a more well-rounded individual. And then my other tip for why you should learn a new language is basically that it gives you more opportunities. So everyone knows that adding a language to your resume, it's a great thing to have on there because you can have more job opportunities, but also it would allow you to go to a different country that you may not have wanted to go to beforehand, and you'd be able to speak with the locals and get that new experience that you wouldn't have been able to have if you hadn't learned that language. Now, as for my tips for how to actually learn a new language, I would say that my first would probably be to get an app of some sort. Now, the most popular would probably be Duolingo because you can just practice for like 5 minutes a day and get that practice in that you wouldn't have had otherwise. However, the problem with things like Duolingo is that you don't get that actual authentic experience of like writing the language or speaking. My second tip would be practice, practice, practice. How do you practice, you may ask? Well, here I have my Spanish-English dictionary, and a fun idea would be to go through this, look at some new words, and the great thing about Spanish is that it's very similar to English in certain ways. For instance, the word interesting is interesante, which is very similar. So we have a lot of those cognates there. And so getting a dictionary like this, you could make your own journal, for instance, and write down maybe word of the day or something and learn that new word. And then here I also have a basic Chinese workbook, which I've been trying to teach myself Chinese. It's a bit difficult, but a workbook like this is so that you can actually write out phrases. I think that this is really great for non-Romance languages. So for Korean, I actually was looking for a workbook in which I could write the letters. However, it was not at the Barnes & Noble that day. So I did pick up Essential Korean Phrasebook and Dictionary, which would really come in handy if I'm able to travel to Seoul, South Korea sometime soon. But this basically just has different phrases for you and different situations, such as a business transaction or perhaps you're at the airport, just some little things that you can say that would help you understand. My last tip for learning a language is probably the most obvious, and that would be to really immerse yourself in that language. This is the easiest way to fully understand it, and so although we are in a pandemic at the moment, once restrictions are lifted, people are vaccinated, and things just get better all around, I would suggest going to a place that you'd be able to speak this language. So for instance, if you want to learn Spanish, if you were able to travel to a different country, maybe Spain, and then for Korean, obviously travel to Korea. Chinese, travel to China. And then just any other thing like that. If there are communities where you live, where you would be able to speak to these individuals. There are even programs such as Conversify, where you are able to speak with somebody, speak in a different language, and have that conversation with them. I just think that any real world experience, speaking that language, writing that language. So if you're able to add any extra classes into your schedule, or if you have room to add another minor and your university has that language, I would highly suggest taking those classes because that would give you even more experience with the language. I hope these tips were helpful, and good luck learning that language.